Hello, and welcome to the FLICK CRITIC Reviews and Interviews. I'm your host, John SMISTAD, and these are my takes on films both new and not so, spanning a wide range of genres and tastes, plus conversations with some of the coolest people in indie entertainment. Now, let us rock with this one, shall we? I have two guests today on this episode of the FLICK CRITIC Reviews and Interviews. The common bond is a project called Last Comiskey. And it started off with a documentary. It was the first one actually produced by a gentleman named Matt Flesch. He's with us today. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And springing from that documentary is a book, not coincidentally, called Last Comiskey. And the author is Ken Smoller. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Matt, what was the inspiration to produce a documentary, again, your first documentary, about the last Major League Baseball season at Old Comiskey Park?
Comiskey Park in general, I loved that stadium as a kid. And, even, after it was torn down in 1990, it still kind of stuck with me to where I used to draw pictures of Comiskey Park in school. And I loved the upper decks and the outfield and, rooftop home run shots and stuff like that. And in particularly, I think I really fell in love with baseball and the White Sox in that summer of 1990, because it was the last year on the old park. And, it was like the sun setting on this grand old stadium. And they had this, the dichotomy of this very old ballpark with all this history, and then this really young team with people that would become, Hall of Famers like Frank Thomas, with some Grizzly veterans like Fisk, and then, the feisty shortstop Ozzie Guillen. It was just a super fun team that wasn't supposed to be very good and turned out to be awesome. 2020 came around, the pandemic hit, and I just didn't have much to do and just started messing around with my brother. Hey, let's do something creative. And so we made some videos, put them on YouTube, and that got the attention of Nancy Faust, the famed organist. And then we started to interview people and decided, hey, let's make a full-fledged documentary. And it being COVID and people getting to know Zoom, we could do an interview with Ozzie Guillen, we could do an interview with Jack McDowell, and we could kind of start piecing this together.
Yep.
So that's how the whole thing, came together back in, from 2020 to when we released it in 2023.
Gotcha. And then that dovetails directly now into you, Ken. How'd you get to a place where you wanted to write a book that fleshed out and talked about Matt's documentary, obviously, but really enhanced it?
It all really started with a tweet by Matt when he was putting together the documentary. He put out a call for photos and videos, and I just happened to have taken hundreds and hundreds of photographs in 1990 when I was a 19-year-old college photographer, and they had been sitting there in my archives and negatives for decades. I always knew I wanted to do something with it, and when Matt had put out that call, I jumped on it, and he and I quickly collaborated, and a lot of the photos provided transitions and backgrounds in the poster. Well, given that the documentary was largely focused on video, there were only so many photos he needed, and I still had all these photos that I really thought Chicagoans, baseball fans, sports fans in general, history buffs would enjoy seeing and having copies of. The book quickly came together where it takes what Matt provided in the documentary, all the interviews and the themes, and expanded upon it on some topics that he didn't necessarily have the time to go into, such as Michael Jordan's at bat, his batting practice at Old Comiskey, or Turn Back the Clock Day. And Matt and I have been really collaborating throughout the process. Matt provided wonderful input for the book. It came together. Matt actually helped me get in contact with Ozzie Guillen, who provided the foreword for the book. And now I think we really have sort of a multimedia project that helps to preserve everyone's memories and also gives a time travel back for those kids who were too young or maybe not born to have experienced Comiskey Park. And what I love hearing about are the players and coaches and fans who have enjoyed seeing the book and seeing the documentary. And what I keep hearing is it brings tears to their eyes in terms of their memories. It just provides a real visceral turn back the clock, ironically, considering that's when Turn Back the Clock Day started, to a ballpark that Matt and I both really loved and grew to become, baseball fans at.
Understood. Ken, where can people get the book?
The book's available at lastcomiskeybook.com. That's lastcomiskeybook.com. It also provides links to the film, which are still available on YouTube. All of those are available within that website. So you can get a full experience of the whole Last Comiskey project from that website.
Cool. Matt, where can people watch your doc?
They can go to YouTube and just search out Last Comiskey. There's a YouTube page, and then the documentary is 3 parts. So you can just watch all 3 parts on YouTube. And yeah, I encourage people to go check that out. And we're also, if you go to Last Comiskey on Twitter X, you can see little snippets and other clips there as well.
We have been talking to Matt Flesch, who produced his first documentary. It's called Last Comiskey. Also been talking to Ken Smoller, who wrote the book Last Comiskey, which was springboarded off of Matt's documentary. Gentlemen, thank you for being part of the Quick Flick Critic Reviews and Interviews. This has been a pleasure.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Quick Flick Critic Reviews and Interviews. Now I ask that you please subscribe and be notified of my continuous new episode announcements. As always, make it a great day and make it count. Goodbye, everybody.
Oh.